Herkimer County Legislature to order, and I would ask Mr. Tobiti to start us off in the pledge of the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We should remain standing for a moment of silence for our veterans. Thank you. Clerk will call the roll.
Hartman. Here. Rose. Here. Schrader.
Here.
Manine. Here. Johnson.
Here.
Hendricks. Hyde.
Here.
Brzezinski.
Here.
Mano.
Here.
Smith. Bono.
Here.
Ackerman.
Here.
Kaplinsky.
Here.
Schwartz.
Here.
Russell. Shaw.
Here.
Weekly.
Here. Quorum's present. Pursuant to Rule 8, are there any objections, corrections to the minutes of March 20th? If not, I'll order them approved. Reading in full of claims disallowed by the auditor and presented for audit by the legislature. And there's nothing at desk. We'll dispense with the regular session to allow for some presentations of a proclamation, and I'll call upon Natalie Brown, Executive Director, and Kelly Conroy, Assistant Director of the YWCA, to accept the proclamation. Thanks for coming out. I want to give this proclamation. I just want to do a little speech here. But today we welcome Natalie Brown, Executive Director of the YWCA of the Mohawk Valley, Utica, New York, and Kelly Conroy, Assistant Director of Non-Residential Crisis Services in Herkimer, New York. The mission of the YWCA, since its inception almost 150 years ago, has been to improve social and economic conditions for all people. The YWCA of the Mohawk Valley mission is one of eliminating racism and empowering women. They advocate and promote peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all. The many programs provided through the YWCA, the Child Advocacy Center, Domestic and Sexual Violence Services, housing programs, racial justice program, educational services program to heal those affected, as well as working to improve their social and economic conditions. Today we recognize the work done by the YWCA of the Mohawk Valley and announce the Take Back the Night March on April 25th, 2013 at 6 p.m. in Myers Park in Herkimer. Survivors will be in attendance to share their personal stories, and a candlelight vigil will be held. By offering this proclamation, we in Herkimer County Legislature declare April 2013 as Child Abuse Prevention and Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and urge the residents of the county to reflect and appreciate the work of the YWCA of the Mohawk Valley. It gives me a great privilege to do this proclamation.
We really appreciate this recognition of how important these services are. We're really proud to work with a multidisciplinary team in Herkimer County to really work with victims of sexual assault and our most innocent children that are victims of abuse and sexual assault. It's really, really hard work. We have phenomenal staff. We have great partners in the community. And we do appreciate the help that you can come to Take Back the Night. It's hard, but it's really powerful when you hear people that have been through some things that no child should have to go through, and then they can voice it. We would really love to see anyone who would be able to attend the Take Back the Night. It's so important for the survivors of this county to come and feel like they're supported by members of the community
And I just wanted to point out that we worked with 291 children last year, so we're very busy, and we would love to see that number go down, but until that happens, we have a lot of work to do.
And this is an underreported crime, so we did 291 in our county here. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you and good luck. I'll now call on Legislator Mano to give a special presentation. Mr. Mano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to call the Vitti family up here, please.
I just think he was trying to say something.
Yeah.
As you all may know, Buddy Valastro from the Cake Boss TV show and his crew were at the Friendly Bake Shop in Frankfurt last month. The 52-year-old bakery was chosen for many among the United States. I think they made an excellent choice. They gave the bakery a makeover. It is now beautiful both inside and out. I always say, next to getting new businesses in Herkimer County, the next best thing is to keep existing ones. They taped the pilot episode of a potential spin-off of the Cake Boss to air later this year on TV. Herkimer County congratulates the Vitti family and presents them with this certificate. The certificate reads, Certificate of Congratulations awarded to the Friendly Bake Shop for being selected for a makeover by the Cake Boss, dated April 3rd, 2013, signed Vincent J. Bono, Chairman, Herkimer County Legislature.
We appreciate this presenting us with the certificate, and we're very happy that they did this for us also, and we hope to stay here for many years to come in the area. We pass it down to our younger children to run it for us. Just thank you for your support for the county for all these years. We appreciate it.
It's a great bakery and couldn't have it for nicer family.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Everybody who knows them truly knows that they are a very hard-working family and just great people. The salt of the earth. They
And the
really
food
are.
is great.
And best donuts in the state.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Well, now I have comment period of the residents, and I'd ask you that you keep your comments to 5 minutes with a total period of 30 minutes. And I'll first call on it's Bernie Brown. And Bernie's subject matter is small business.
Small business operation. My name is Bernie Ryan. I'm familiar with the area. I do a lot of charity for people that need stuff and small business operator. But things haven't been good lately. Come to you people to tell you that it's been trying, to say the least. Today, I don't have much money to make ends meet with a small operator. It's been difficult with money, small operator, like myself. The economy's hurting everyone, and it's bad. In the beginning, it was good. You know, May and June is good because everybody wants something done. And what I've done is just now I'm freaking lucky to get like 7 to 10 people to seal the driveway now. It's just, I don't know what's going on, but in average, or do nothing else, seal driveways, or it freaking depends on people's wallets now. And I grew up here all my life. I farmed it, blacktop, did hay, and everything, etc. I've been blessed with playing sports, basketball, which Jim was, Mr. Hughes was there, and tennis and everything. I got support from Sylvia back there. everything, but now it's just iffy. I help with Chinese auctions and all this and that. I don't make $50,000 or $80,000 doing this. I just try to survive. And that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you.
I now call upon Carl Streeter from Ilion. His subject matter is the proposed jail.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I didn't see the sheriff here. I wanted to thank him for a personal favor he did to my daughter. About 2 months ago now, Mr. Wallace published this to all of us. It was a comparison, his best estimate of what it would cost to operate the new building as proposed by this committee, this team that's proposing it, and compared to what he feels it would cost us to board out, also compared to the current cost. And like any estimate, it involved a lot of hard work, and there may have been some of you who participated with them and contributed in making these numbers. I put a lot of faith in them. And what they show is that there is a difference in operating cost estimated to run a new building and a different operating cost to board out. A very small difference, about 8% difference between boarding out and building a new jail, operating a new jail, according to these numbers. It will cost about 8% more if we were to board out than to operate the new jail. If Mr. Wallace's and your estimate is within plus or minus 10%, you're saying that's darn good. Estimating as based on experience, based on as many facts as you can get, based on as much input as you can get from people who are qualified to input, and then there's some Kentucky windage that's thrown in, and you come up with an estimate. Plus or minus 10% is darn good. Just for the heck of it, if this estimate were within plus or minus 5%, if Mr. Wallace and his helpers came that close, and perhaps they have, and if that plus 5% were in the error on the new jail site, and if the minus 5% were in error on the boarding out cost, guess what? It switches around and it becomes less costly to board out than it does to build a new jail. And I'll bring that out not to criticize the estimate, but just to show you how close it is. The operating costs are within a smidgen, depending on these numbers or any way you want to manipulate those numbers. They're that close together, the difference between operating a jail, a new jail, or boarding out to some of our neighboring counties. Only that difference, except when you realize that to enjoy the new jail, you have to build a new jail. The operating costs have to be supported by a $35 million investment. We just heard from a gentleman about the dire straits that he and many of us and a lot in our 65,000 person community are suffering. And I wish you'd take that into consideration when pursuing this new jail. You know that we've spoken, I have spoken about the folly, I can't think of a nicer word, the folly of pursuing a $35 million burden on our taxpayers when we can accomplish darn near the same thing. These numbers say darn near the same thing by farming our people out. I heard the sheriff at the Public Safety Committee meeting warn us quite correctly that gotta be careful. The other counties don't necessarily want to take some of our bad guys. He had to go get one the other day. Somebody misbehaved in another jail, and the jailer up in the county said, "Come and get this trash." I don't know. Well, that's one out of that. He said we have 90 in the confinement right now. So if we don't have one bad actor out of 90, and I think it's probably a lot worse than that. That's 1%. Let's say we had 10%. Bad actors. I still think we can negotiate with our neighboring county to provide them with some a certainty of input from us. I know Oneida County plans on $1.3 million from the feds every year, $1.3 million. They're required to board up to as many as 35 inmates for that, which is $101 per inmate, which brings us back to the cost that we've been talking about all along based on the sheriff's Recent numbers for January and February, we're spending $389, or we did in January and February, per day to put our inmates in this jail over here, and only $89 a day to send them to Oneida County, or Otsego County, or Copeland County, or Montgomery County. Now, it just seems people, when the difference is that much, 380 a day to take it here, 80 a day to go someplace else, that you don't have to be a rocket scientist to realize that's probably the way we ought to go. Would you think about it, please? Would you give it your consideration? Keep in mind what this gentleman just said. He's not alone. Out of the 65,000 people in this county, we're all in tough straits. You're going to be voting later this afternoon to continue the $1.5 million quarter% jail tax. What you're saying when you say that, when you vote in favor of that, is that you're willing to take $1.5 million out of the pockets of the taxpayers to set it aside to build this boondoggle jail. It just does not make fiscal sense. It does not make good business sense. Thank you.
Now, pursuant to Rule 6, Number 8, reports of standing committees, I'll ask any chairperson if they wish to reflect on the progress that their committees have made. Is there any chairperson willing to give a report? Okay. We'll now continue with the consent agenda. Will the clerk please read the title of each resolution on the consent agenda?
Number 85 is Public Safety Emergency Management with the monthly reports of the sheriff. 86 is Natural Resources, setting the date for the notice of the public review on Ag District Number 8. 87 is Natural Resources, setting the public hearing on the annual 30-day period for inclusion in the Ag District. And 88 is Natural Resources, appointing a member to the Regional Fish and Wildlife Management Board.
May I have a motion on the consent agenda? Mr. Hyde, second by Mr. Shaw. Any debate? Mrs. Rose.
I would like to speak to the monthly report of the sheriff. I was away and missed the Public Safety Committee meeting, and I did listen to the recording. Thank you to the Concerned Citizens Group at the committee meeting. I had asked in the February meeting if future sheriff reports could include some information at the time that was about the lots. And I was, again, thanks to the Concerned Citizens Group and the recording of the minutes, went out last March of 2012, when we were in an executive session for security at the jail. The topic was the locks, which is now, of course, no longer confidential. And but we didn't have any updates, even once it came out and the RFP went out. We lost a considerable amount of time and money with 7 cells coming offline. And I would think that the sheriff's report could be updated. And I would hope that the Public Safety Committee would consider this. I've spoken of it before. I would hope that there's enough of an appetite in the committee for the information to know such things as having those 7 cells offline. And you can debate what delayed it, but knowing that they were offline and what the financial impact of that was. Also, 90 people in the jail that was mentioned. You know, why? Do we know? I know at the committee meeting, Dennis Corse asked how many of those were parole violators, and I believe we were told 10. But I'd be interested to know how many are awaiting pickup for sentencing. I'd like to know how many are awaiting trial. I saw a recent article in the newspaper where there were 4 arrests for welfare fraud. And it just seemed, it was an interesting article to me. I don't pretend to know the different degrees of felony charges. But 2 people were issued appearance tickets. Another one had a $3,500 cash bail and remanded to our jail. Another one was $1,000 cash bail and remanded to our jail. Who's sitting in our jail and who's costing us that money? Are they violent offenders? I know that the probation, there's been some recommendations that have been made about the review that could be done in order to get information in the hands of the judge sooner. I think our probation department perhaps has been doing well on that. But there's things that are impacting our jail. And to be up to 90 and not know just what the makeup of that is. I mean, we know the horrible tragedy that happened in the community. But is there a real increase in violent crime aside from the horrible, horrible tragedy that happened? I'm not sure. But if there is, I would hope that we could talk about that at the Public Safety Committee, what's going on in our community as far as crime is concerned. That's information that would help sensitize us all to why the jail costs are so high. There's nothing in the public safety report that speaks about the status of the jail, and I recognize a lot of that is outside the control of the sheriff. But it would be interesting, and to have that, I know Mr. Schrader did ask, what's the status? And I think you were told the litigation with the village is to be heard in September. But are there any other discussions going on about the jail and the design? Is there any attempt to make it smaller? Is there any attempt, while you might have 130 cells, will you have an attempt to make the common space more compact and therefore lower the costs of operating that facility? We're not having those discussions in any kind of a public forum, and I would hope that we could, because I think it would help better inform our people, and then as you move forward with what it is you're doing, we might have a better appreciation of the things that are driving it. And I would ask in the sheriff's report that consideration be given at least to expanding the degree of segregation that's within the jail, sentence versus unsentenced, et cetera. Thank you.
Any other debate? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Resolutions, the consent agenda will pass. Before we go on, I want to mention that we have our students from Cornell Cooperative Extension here, and as they always come, we would like to have them introduce themselves, and so if you would each stand up, state your name and what school district you're from.
Hello, my name is Clarence Blades, and I'm a senior at Herkimer High School.
Hi, I'm Devin Bush, and I'm from Poland High School.
I'm Megan Moore, and I'm from Mohawk.
My name is Hannah Phillips, and I'm also from Mohawk.
I'm Madeline Gaspard, I'm a senior from Mohawk.
I'm Caitlin Graves, I'm a senior at Mohawk.
Welcome. Hopefully you'll get an education of how we operate here and you know, the formal legislative meeting. And at this time, I'll probably ask Mr. Malone to give his speech on. You'll notice that we have voice votes or roll call vote, and Mr. Malone will try to explain it to you.
Mr. Chairman, glad to. If you pick up one of these sheets, the resolutions are listed, and then over to the right, it indicates some are, it says voice or roll call, and that's the type of vote that's taken. The vote that you just heard was a voice vote. All in favor say aye, all opposed say nay. That's a voice vote. A roll call vote is when the clerk will call each legislator's name and ask what their individual vote is. And to make a long story short, I try to make it shorter each time. The roll call vote is on matters which might have a heavy impact on the taxpayers. Tax issues or hiring or wage issues. Those are required by law to have a roll call vote. In addition, any of these voice votes, a member of this legislature can ask that there be a roll call vote. If an individual legislator wants a roll call vote, wants to know how each legislator is voting, that legislator can ask, and you may or may not hear that.
Okay, thank you. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to speak up afterwards. We can clarify things for you. All right, thanks for coming. We'll now move on with the remainder of the resolutions. Number 89.
Highway Committee rejecting bid and awarding bid for equipment for the highway department.
This resolution rejects a bid and awards a bid for provision of a new brush chipper for the Herkimer County Highway Department. May I have a motion? Mr. Ackerman, second by Mr. Shaw. Any debate? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. The resolution will pass. Number 90.
Ways and Means correcting tax roll in the town of Herkimer.
This resolution approves the correction of tax rolls for an error on parcel of property in the town of Herkimer. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Corr, second by Mr. Ackerman. Any debate? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? I'm sorry, roll call. Good call. Give some point. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Bono?
Yes.
Ackerman?
Yes.
Toplinski?
Yes.
Force?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Weekly?
Yes.
Hartman?
Yes.
Rose?
Yes.
Schrader?
Yes.
Manine? Yes. Johnson?
Yes.
Hyde?
Yes.
Brzezinski?
Yes.
Nano?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Number 91.
Human Resources, Ways and Means authorizing escrow agreement with the State Department of Health.
This resolution authorizes an escrow agreement with the New York State Department of Health in connection with the Early Intervention Program effective April 1st, 2013. May I have a motion? Mr. Shaw, second by Mr. Hyde. Any debate? All those in favor, aye. Any opposed, nay. Resolution passes. Number 92.
Human Resources, Ways and Means, authorizing agreement with State Department of Health for coordination of early intervention.
This resolution authorizes an early intervention provider agreement with the New York State Department of Health. May I have a motion? Mr. Smith, second by Mrs. Manini. Any debate? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Resolution will pass. Number 93.
Planning and Development, authorizing a public hearing in connection with the application for economic development assistance.
This resolution sets a public hearing on the projects listed in connection with the submission of an application for economic development assistance. May I have a motion? Mr. Johnson, second by Mr. Poplinski. Any debate? Mrs. Rose.
Mr. Chairman, I asked for some information from, I don't have my resolution in front of me. This is the one for the four,
Four businesses.
the four, that's different. You've got a corrected resolution, right? I had it in my hand. I would like some information about what's involved in that. I did speak to Mr. Poplinski prior to the meeting, but the clarification, he said, has to come from the IDA.
Correct. And Mr. Kane is here. Is it okay, Bert? Mr. Kane, would you just clarify what the resolution means? And
Yeah, I will, Mr. Chairman. These are basically monies that were left over from the 2012 CFA process. If you recall, that's now part of one application. It's called the CFA, Consolidated Funding Application. These were 2012 monies that weren't spent statewide. The six-county Mohawk Valley region was awarded $8 million to solicit projects that benefit the community. With that, numerous applications were received in all avenues. But the main factor out of the reason why it happened basically was out of all 6 counties, only 4 were funded for economic development. So that's really a dismal number, and I think that was recognized, and that was basically the intent of making additional monies available. The reason for the urgency is because these Herkimer County's proposals and the other 5 counties were just adopted yesterday at the regional council meeting. I think Mr. Bonamere is part of, which was held yesterday. So being that today's your next legislative meeting, we're hoping to get them adopted today. You have 4 economic development ones and also 1 housing application on here, which the IDA has no bearing on. We don't have anything to do with that application. So these will be companies submitted pre-applications. They were then inclined to submit full applications. In order to do that, a municipality or a government entity needs to be the applicant. In this aspect, the county is asked to be the applicant for those projects as listed.
Just clarification, I'm trying to understand, like, for example, the award that Valley Health received. That was primary, this is money that's left over after that, because we didn't have to adopt a resolution on that, or did we? I don't recall.
I don't know anything about that part.
But we need to do it in this in order to advance it, or are they assured it?
No, this is only to advance it. This is pre-apps were put in by the companies, and now this is to advance it to actually full applications will need to be submitted, which is going to be an awful lot of work for both them and the IDA. But these projects are worthwhile. You notice on here there's upwards of $29 million in projects in Herkimer County. Close to 90 new jobs, so we don't have a lot of opportunities to offer those.
The 5, Mr. Fuller, the 5 entities on here, Hummel's Office Equipment certainly is familiar to me. Northern Safety is familiar. Burroughs Paper is familiar. The other one is the housing initiative that you said really doesn't have anything to do with the IDA. I'd like to just know UNHS Neighborhood Works Home Ownership Center, $600,000 to really have 20 low to middle income households. Where are they located and where are these properties?
I couldn't speak to that. It's by
Who does know?
their perspective, I mean, they're not
They're going to be
designated.
countywide.
Who did these people bring the plan to then, the request to?
The regional council.
And so then it comes to us from the regional council, not through the IDA?
No, not the housing one.
So we don't know anything, we personally here, as we vote to move this forward, we know nothing about it.
I think that's the intent of the public hearing.
So this is that we're supporting it, and then there'll be this is supporting a public hearing or supporting the effort, and there will be a public hearing to go forward.
Well, you're setting a public hearing to hear more information.
But we won't be asked to vote again on this, or be able to get more. I mean, I just saw it today, so I don't know to get more information. The Ruby Lake Glass, where is this?
That is part of Andela, which is located up on Route 28, but they now are looking to have a presence in the West Frankfort Industrial Park, one of the previously unoccupied buildings. They're looking to share, be a co-tenant with another group from up that way.
And the boroughs, Northern Safety and Hummel, are initiatives within their existing programs? Thank you.
Any other debate? Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Resolution.
I think they had a thing.
Okay, I'm sorry. Any abstain? One abstain, Mr. Hart. The resolution passes. Number 94.
Ways and Means for an extension of a temporary position in the Treasurer's Department.
This resolution extends the temporary position in the Herkimer County Treasurer's Office for an additional 35 hours. May I have a motion? Mr. Corr, second by Mr. Ackerman. Any debate? Mrs. Rose.
Mr. Chairman, I'm interested to know, I did, again, listen to this committee meeting, and I know that initially this legislature approved 150 hours in order to get that extra training, and while they weren't used, when it was brought forward again into 2013, it was 30 hours, and now we're asking for another 35 hours. It's to complete the 2012 audit. Do we know the completion date requirement for the 2012 audit?
The April 30th.
Mrs. Heaney?
Mr. Chairman, the April 30th.
So sometime in this next month it's going to be completed?
Yes.
So should we have the rate of through, I would propose then that it shouldn't be through June 30th, it should be through April 30th. If that's what if we're bringing this on, it indicates whereas we're doing this to complete the 2012 audit. Would the need for it cease on April 30th?
There's one other portion that would go past April 30th, but it doesn't impact the annual report. It impacts the crystal reports, which are necessary, but they can be done after the fact.
So when we're saying here the 2012 audit, it expanded beyond the 2012 audit, or that's part of the audit?
A small portion of the audit, it's something that Kathy has to show Michelle how to do, but we can still continue the audit without it.
Okay.
Any other debate?
I just have one other question.
Yes, Mrs.
Later in these resolutions, we'll be talking about the entering into a contract for the in-rem auction sale, and a great deal of effort, I assume. I mean, there's hours of effort from the Treasurer's Office. I'm wondering if any of the hours of the individuals who are preparing for the audit and whatever happens there after April are people that have to be involved in the auction and commit hours to that. Because I don't know. I mean, if we're not going to, I don't know how the division of duties are.
Mr. Chairman, those two people will not be involved in the preparation.
Thank you.
Any other debate? Roll call. Clerk will call the roll.
Hartman.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Manning.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Hyde.
Yes.
Brzezinski.
Yes.
Nano.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Bono.
Yes.
Ackerman.
Yes.
Kaplinski.
Yes.
Horst.
Yes.
Shaw.
Yes.
Weekly.
Yes.
Resolution 94 passes. Number 95.
Ways and Means amending 2013 budget.
This resolution amends the 2013 budget in connection with the extension and implementation of the Indigent Legal Services Grant. May I have a motion? Mr. Corr, second by Mr. Ackerman. May I need a debate? Mrs. Rose.
Mr. Chairman, I did speak to Mr. Decker about this, and again, I listened to the recording. We have a contract employee who operates our indigent legal services, as I understand. And this grant is it a grant that we in Herkimer County own, and it will be expended under the tutelage of the indigent legal service contract. Because I was interested in here, they said contracted services, and Mr. Decker told me that would be clerical services that we would be, well, I don't know, it's our grant, but the individual contractor of legal services, he will be hiring within his office to render the legal services, the clerical services. I didn't hear any discussion during the meeting about how it impacts our indigent legal services not having the clerical help. And I'm just curious, is the grant only for salaries of a clerical staff, or were there other things that could be done? Because apparently this went on in 2011 and we haven't needed those services.
I couldn't answer that. He's not here.
Because we're applying for the grant for his behalf, and he will manage that grant?
Yes. That's my understanding.
And so he'll be hiring clerical staff, and we haven't had clerical staff in doing it. I think it would be incumbent upon us to know how the indigent legal service program is being impacted in the absence of clerical staff. No, there's no one here that could answer that question.
So is there any? Bernie? Oh, I'm sorry, Bernie, I didn't, I thought you were.
I can tell you that the grant, and I mean, the grant's already been approved. What he's doing now, he's getting it extended to have a longer time period to pay it off, or to expend it. He cannot he cannot use the grant to refund anything that's already been done, or any services that he already provides. Actually, his office staff is the office staff for the program. And he can use the grant money, if approved by the state, to get additional staff or additional time for his staff to do new things that would help to further the cause of the indigent legal defense. What they're looking for is to increase the amount of indigent legal defense that's available in the county, and this grant is for that purpose. Exactly what purpose it would be expended on, I don't believe it has been determined yet completely.
We have a contract with the Bar Association apparently, and this individual comes to us through the Bar Association. And we have our compensation that has been arrived at for this individual. This is an individual where, even though they're a contractor, we've extended the family health insurance at the cost of the county. If the legal clerical services have already been rendered by the individual, I would have to assume that it was part of his contract. It would have been interesting to know what the expansion that Mr. Decker suggested might happen. Certainly, indigent legal services is important. Maybe it'll get him out of the jail sooner, and that would be important to all of us. I would ask if I could find out just how these services would be expanded, and would it be appropriate, Mr. Chairman, that I go directly to the individual and request that information?
Absolutely. You
Thank you.
can do that at any time.
I will. Thank you.
And that goes for any legislator. If you have a question prior to this meeting, get that answer. Get that answer. You're given the resolutions 3 days ahead. Everybody knows that. So get those answers. I mean, we'll accommodate you when we can, but you should have those answers prior to the vote. Mr. Clerk.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The grant concept to aid indigent legal services that was brainstormed by the state of New York several years ago was supposed to alleviate the cost to the counties, because they were mandating that the per hour reimbursement was going up. And then they realized that this was something they couldn't continue to afford to share with the counties, and they cut it back and put stipulations on them. And this is a watered down version that we got from the state. It's not the reimbursement that we envisioned when they said we're raising the rates of reimbursement for attorneys. It's much more, like I said, watered down, and it's a token reimbursement of what we expected. And so this is better than nothing. And it's supposed to be used to try to come up with, like, brainstorming, as Bernie said, to get around what it costs to fund a public defender's program. But it's really nothing compared to what we envisioned.
Anyone else? All those in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed, nay. Resolution passes. Number 96.
Properties authorizing contract with auctioneer.
This resolution authorizes a contract with Michael W. Knapp Jr. to conduct an auction for the interim tax foreclosure parcels for the year 2011 through 2016. May I have a motion?
So moved, Mr.
Mr. Corr, second by Mr. Johnson. Any debate? Mrs. Rose.
Mr. Chairman, I made an appointment with the county purchasing director, and I did review the request for proposal that went out and the returns by some of the vendors. I also had an opportunity to review the compilation of figures that was done by Mr. Decker comparing the various programs. As I alluded to earlier, we know that with the resolution suggesting that Michael J. Knapp Jr. be awarded this contract, that all advertising will be done by the county, and many services for this sale will be handled by the county. I believe taking the pictures is handled by the county, certain other things. That made a difference in the way you would review, I think, the various proposals submitted by the 3 other vendors that came forward. I reviewed it, and I'm concerned that a lack of thorough analysis of what's been offered. That would mean in terms of advertising. The proposal from Mr. Knapp suggested that the county would pay for its own advertising. It would be between 5 and 7. The analysis done by Mr. Decker is last year we spent $7,300. the net proceeds to the county from the sale by Mr. Knapp, and just the next one I picked, which was Auction International, was, $4,500. But I don't know that we know that that's actually what would be realized. First of all, because it's predicating this on the properties that we had last year, and I don't suggest that we should have had another way of doing it. I'd asked a few of the legislators before the meeting to try to see if I could wrap my arms around the decision to the committee to recommend Mr. Knapp, and I can't do it. All the other responders were asking for a percentage of the completed sales, and Mr. Knapp is a fixed payment of $350 per parcel. Last year, I guess he was $250. He, of course, knows that last year we had 83 parcels for sale. We did not furnish that information to the others. Had they asked for it, I'm confident that we would have given it to them. I think one asked, not of the three that responded, but the one that asked did not respond. I would think that the request for proposal spec that we sent out should have included more information. It didn't really say that we don't want the responder to take pictures, we don't want the responder to do advertising, that we don't want the responder to do a lot of the other deeds and legal things that some of them have offered in the proposal. And could they have asked? Yes. But if we really wanted a more thorough analysis of the comparisons, I think we could have provided it, and it may well have been a wise thing to do. I have issues, I've had issues in terms of the service that we've received in the past. I think it's jaded in some regard, but I'm willing to let that go. I just think that this required more review. I asked Mr. Decker, who among the committee took the proposals and even looked at them to see, well, this one's going to market it a little bit differently. This one's going to do broader advertising than what our $7,300 bought for us last time. This one's going to print different brochures. The advertising on the internet will be more capturing. A lot of different things that we could compare. The one vendor that I called Auction International, I just called them and said, I'm just curious about your proposal. And they had, the sheet that we got said optional paperwork and deeds. Quite frankly, when you read it, and there was, if they had been called, I'm sure they would have volunteered this, the deeds and all of that kind of stuff, that was part of their actual proposal at no additional cost. So you're talking about a $4,500 discrepancy between the recommendation of this resolution to Auctions International. Now, Auctions International, in their proposal, suggested a 3-year contract. They were called to say, would you consider having it be a 5-year contract? What are you doing? No communication was made to clarify the submittals by any of these firms. I think it's incumbent upon us to do that in order to see what kind of a deal we're getting. Comments would be made that Mr. Knapp is a Herkimer County business, and I don't debate that they are. But I still think that might be weighted, but I don't think that tips the scales. I'm not going to be able to support this. What I would like to do is make a motion to table it, and that we could perhaps have the committee or a group meet with perhaps Mr. Knapp and perhaps the second closest, and find out just what the differences are in terms of the way this would be advertised and marketed. If you're going to pay someone a percentage of the completed sales, I think there's great motivation to doing a really good job of trying to get lots of competition in there. If you're going to pay me $350 a parcel regardless if one person shows up, I don't know that the motivation is the same. And I would hope that I will make a motion now to table the decision on this resolution for 1 month so that in the meantime, Auctions International and the Knapp Company can both be quizzed in terms of the thoroughness of their marketing strategy.
Motion to table, second by Mr. Hartman. Any debate? All those in favor of tabling it?
Roll call, please.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
That needs debate.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Debate, go ahead, Gary.
I do agree with
on tabling. This is debate on tabling.
Okay. I think we should take that in light of what Mrs. Rose had discovered. I think we should take some time to review those things and contact the vendors. It kind of reminds me of another proposal we had that was...
This is on the tabling.
Tabling it to further review.
which is what I'm talking about. I want time to review it for a number of reasons, which I'm about to say. It reminds me of another sheet of proposals we got back that some vendors were doing the service for per hour, others were per fee, and it came to us in that form. There was no way to tell what they all would have bid if they were bidding on a uniform thing. And I think if somebody wants to go percentage, perhaps we could give everybody that percentage versus fee, and they may come up with different figures. I would feel more comfortable comparing apples to apples instead of having a number of different vendors offering different services.
Any more debate on the motion to table?
Roll call.
Roll call. Clerk will call the roll.
Weekly.
No.
Hartman.
Yes.
Rose. Yes. Schrader.
No.
Manine. No. Johnson.
No.
Hyde.
No.
Brzezinski.
Yes.
Mano.
No.
Smith.
No.
Bono.
No.
Ackerman.
No.
Kaplinski. Corse.
No.
Shaw.
No.
Wow. It's defeated. We move on. Any more debate on the original amendment? The original resolution. Mr. Corse.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sure our RFPs, I think we sent out 14 of them. Our RFP had a statement in there, if you have any questions, to call the county. They could talk to either our treasurer and or our purchasing agent. Some of these other outfits talk about the possibility of recording mortgages, and that would send up a red flag for myself. I don't think they should be in that business. I think our treasurer's office and our legal department should be handling that. And also, Mr. Chairman, I have every confidence in our elected treasurer and our appointed budget officer to review this and put it in front of our committee.
Anyone else? Mr. Hartman.
This is just on the point of recording mortgages and advertising. I would suggest that had this company that's talked about recording mortgages may think that's standard practice where they've done business before, and if we had asked them to separate it, or if we can call back and ask them to separate it or take it out, to come back with a different price.
Anyone else? Mr. Rose had it.
The request for proposal, and I certainly understand that we're not obligated to give it to the low or the high or however we do it. It's a professional service. But the process that we used, I did review them, and I would indicate that Mr. Decker and Philomena were very helpful in putting that information before me. But what I learned is that when we do receive such things, and they had to be in by March 5th, I think, we don't stamp them in. We don't save the envelopes that they came in. And I would suggest not only, well, definitely for future, and it was indicated that they had received an opinion from the county attorney some time ago that it wasn't necessary to say those things. I would strongly suggest that as requests for proposals are opened and things like that come in, that they be stamped in, dated and timed, and that envelopes that they are remitted to us, if they come in an envelope, should be kept along with the proposal. I just think that it just makes it easier to review, to be certain that everyone got the information and return the information in the appropriate time. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Mr. Schrader.
I wasn't the one that brought this to the table. I just want to put out there that I will support the resolution for one reason. We were assured by our attorney, Rob Malone, that we can pull out of this contract at any given point in time. With that said, with the technology of today, it doesn't mean that we have to stay with Mr. Knapp for the 5 years. We can pull out at any time. And after speaking with a couple of the other companies that were involved with this, they did offer some other services that Mr. Knapp does not. I feel that this could possibly be looked into. That's why I'm supporting it right now, but it could be possibly looked into in the future with the technology of today. It might be something that we could change next year or the year after. It isn't, we're not binding ourselves, and it doesn't, with this resolution, it doesn't state that we can get out of it, but if we can get out of it, I was assured by that with Mr. Malone.
Roll call vote.
Anyone else? Clerk will call the roll.
Mano.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Bono.
Yes.
Ackerman.
Yes.
Kaplinski.
Yes.
Corse.
Yes.
Shaw.
Yes.
Weekly.
Yes.
Hartman.
No.
Rose.
No.
Schrader.
Yes.
Manine.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Hyde.
Yes.
Krasinski.
No.
Resolution passes. Number 97.
Administration of Veterans Affairs requesting the home rule request.
This resolution authorizes the home rule request as listed. May I have a motion? Mr. Hyde, second by Mr. Manine. Any debate? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Resolution passes. Number 98.
Administration of Veterans Affairs, Ways and Means requesting legislation authorizing extension of additional sales and compensating use.
This resolution requests legislation for the extension of the additional 1.25% sales tax. May I have a motion? Mrs. Manine, second by Mr. Shaw. Any debate? Mrs. Rose.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to partition this vote. If you're talking to Mr. Malone, he indicated that our rules, unless it's changed since he's been doing more reading, our rules support that we can have a petition of this. I'm interested in having a separate vote on the 1% and the 30%. And I think this will afford us the opportunity, and whatever the vote on any aspect of my motion to partition, as well as the motion as a whole, I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
There's a motion made and second. I'd ask Mr. Malone to read Rule 15 in regard to this.
Mrs. Rose was, Mr. Chairman, kind enough to raise this in advance of the meeting, so I did have a chance to research it. Rule 15 says, if the question and debate contains several distinct propositions, the same shall be divided by the chair at the request of any member and upon the affirmative vote of the majority to that end, that a vote be taken on each proposition. In looking at the resolution, I did tell Mrs. Rose, and I'll advise the chairman and this legislature, I don't believe that this resolution, as it stands, contains separate and distinct propositions. So therefore, I indicated to Mrs. Rose the proper procedure would be a motion essentially to amend this, to divide it. So it would be a vote on the 1% and then a separate vote on the 1.25%. And of course, such a motion can be made and requires a majority vote of the legislature to sustain.
Just clarify.
Motion made and second, debate.
I'm looking to have two distinct votes on the 1% and a 0.25%. It's not an attempt to dissuade anyone from voting on it, either just to have the record show the 1% support and the support for the 0.25%.
If anyone wants to make it their, argument in voting for it, they could. But the motion is made and second. Any more debate? All in favor?
Roll call, I ask for
Roll call. Sorry. Roll call.
Just to divide.
Just to divide the 1 and 1.25%.
Motion to amend the resolution, essentially.
What he said.
Mrs. Rose.
Yes.
Schrader.
No.
Manine.
No.
Johnson.
No.
Hyde.
No.
Krasinski.
Yes.
Nano. Smith. Bono.
No.
Ackerman.
No.
Kaplinski.
No.
Corse.
Yes.
Shaw.
No.
Weekly.
No.
Hartman.
Yes.
And that's defeated. We'll now move on with the no, we didn't make a motion on the original.
Yeah.
We did that. Okay, any debate on that? Mrs. Rose.
I would ask for a roll call vote on this also, Mr. Chairman. The 0.25% sales tax, as has been stated by Mr. Streeter quite eloquently, as I'm sure if we went to the minutes or the audio anyway, we get comments by Mr. Corse on this. It takes quite a chunk out of the local economy. Some would make the case that this is just wonderful because we're figuring out a way to pay for this jail. And then others would say, but we're figuring out a way to pay for a jail that's over and above anything that this county should need. I will not be able to support the 0.25%, and therefore I will not be able to support this resolution. It would have been nice, the 1%, because then we could have dialogue with the towns and the villages about the possibility, as things improve, to be honoring the previous commitment to them. But as it stands right now, I cannot support it. Thank you.
Any other legislator? Mr. Brzezinski.
Mr. Chairman, I too feel that because of this 0.25%, I can't support this. That's the only reason why. The 0.25% won't go to jail. Thank you.
Mr. Hartman.
I firmly believe that putting 1/4% of the sales tax back in the pockets of the consumer would provide an economic boost to all our business owners. We're continuing to stash money away for a jail that's proposed to be overbuilt. It's definitely not necessary to be that size, and actually it's in the wrong location too. So I will.
I'll test it. I'll agree with that.
I cannot support that.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Court.
I'm torn on this resolution, as I have been in the past since we first started passing it. We take $4,600 a day with that 1/4% out of the Herkimer County economy every day, $4,600, and set it aside for the construction of a jail. But the overwhelming portion of this resolution, 80% of this resolution, addresses a fair way of paying for this county's share of Medicaid. And this is the fairest way I know of to pay for that medical bill. So, although I'm torn, I have to support this resolution.
Any other legislators? I just want to say I'm in favor of the 1/4%. I feel, Mr. Corse mentioned the $4,600 that's taken out, but it's a fairer way. The property taxpayer cannot bear the brunt of this all the time, on whether it's a mandated program or a non-mandated program. It's a fairer way. We have people coming from out of our district, out of our county, coming in to help pay for this jail. Whether it be the thruway rest areas, they generate a lot of sales tax. The gas tax brings in a lot. Truck drivers that come in and fuel up in our communities, they're helping pay for this. I think it takes a lot of the bite out of it for the property taxpayer that continually bears the brunt in New York State for a program, whether it be mandated or not. As far as the question of the size, I believe we're on the right track. We had 81 or 82 in the other day. We spiked to 90 sometimes. 130 bed jail is not out of the question for me, for this legislator, and that's just mine. So, anyone else? Mr. Schrader.
I would like to say I will support this, but I do agree with Dennis and a couple of the other legislators with this. I would hope after we decide what we're doing with the jail situation that we would consider giving back at least 0.5% to the towns and back as far as sales tax. Just because they're in, the county's in better shape than a lot of the towns and the villages are. And I think that would help them out considerably. So I would hope that in the near future, after we figure out something with the jail, that we will be in agreement to allow to give back at least 1/2 or 3/4% to the villages and townships.
Anyone else? All those in favor, aye?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Hyde?
Yes.
Brzezinski?
No.
Mano?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Bono?
Yes.
Ackerman?
Yes.
Kaplinski?
Yes.
Corse?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Weekly?
Yes.
Hartman?
No.
Rose?
No.
Schrader?
Yes.
Manine?
Yes.
Resolution passes. That concludes our resolutions. We'll now go to comments by legislators. Is any legislator wishing to make a comment? Bad. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn by Mr. Bennett. Oh, you have one. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wrote a letter to all our local officials signed by Chairman Bono. Requesting a better signage for extra 30 in Herkimer. It's a tough sign to see when you're coming, curve sharply to the left. And I also thought it would be a good idea if they could put up a sign showing Herkimer County's attractions. It would be better for economic development and tourism. Other counties have it. I think we should. I got a letter from Mr. Brindisi, and he said that he sent a letter to Thomas Madison, the New York State Thruway Authority. We'll see what happens.
Very good. Appreciate your efforts, Mr. Bennett.
Thanks,
Mr. Harder.
That motion to close quicker.
No, no.
I'm kidding.
Okay.
No. I just want to thank the Cornell Cooperative Extensive class for coming in, as well as their teacher. I think it's wonderful that they're interested in public affairs, and it's not just an old cliche. They are our future. They in fact are. And I noticed recently that the the younger people tend to be a bit more open-minded than others all across the nation. So I think it brings me a lot of hope to see them here.
Thank you. Mr. Course.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, they're standing up.
No, it's very it's a touching story, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Renshaw, who passed, he had memorials come to the Herkimer County Humane Society. And my wife does all the thank yous for memorials that come in obituaries and memorials or whatever. Never have we seen as many or as much money raised on behalf of anyone as we have from Mr. Renshaw's passing, which is maybe good fortune for us and his misfortune, but we truly appreciate the generosity of the people on his behalf, possibly because of the collateral damage to the canine companion. People want to give for whatever reason, and we do appreciate it. Mr. Renshaw, about 10 years ago, conducted a golf tournament. He came to us and said, I want to do this for the Humane Society. He raised about $450 having his own little golf tournament, and we appreciated that at the time. And this continuation, we appreciate also. I thought I'd make that comment, Mr. Chair.
While we're on this subject, I just want to give you an update. I've been asked I told you last meeting that we were going to have a countywide memorial. I've been in contact with Dr. Murray at the college. Myself and the sheriff are going to spearhead the county end. We will be meeting with two representatives from the college to have a memorial / recognition service to be announced. It'll probably be in May. We wanted to make sure we notify all the agencies and families involved. We don't want to forget anybody. So that'll be planned. Look for it in May sometime, and we would hope that you would support it, and I'm sure you would, and we would invite the community at that time too. So thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Mann.
Well, if there's no further business, I move to be adjourned to Wednesday, April 24th, 2013 at 7:30 p.m. for our second April meeting. There will be a public hearing on the application for economic development assistance at 7 o'clock and a public hearing on open enrollment for ag districts at 7:15 p.m.
Motion made second by Mr. Hyde. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned.